Before we get into it, I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording today, the Whadjuk Noongar people. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, because it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey, this is Zero Filter, and chances are you like your conversations messy and unfiltered. I'm Faye, and every week I'll be tackling everything from relationships and politics to sex work and personal growth. This is where the messy, uncomfortable, and hilarious collide. So let's buckle up because it's going to get real. Welcome back. I went on a little hiatus, didn't I? I know that a lot of my following comes from my Instagram, so I am aware that you guys know where I was. But if you are the slight minority that doesn't come from my Instagram, then I have been away in Darwin for the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, visiting my home. It's where I grew up. It's where most of my family live. It is so ingrained deep into my loins, that place. I wouldn't be who I am without coming from Darwin. So I thought, what better way than to make this podcast, or this episode rather, about my journey back there, what that kind of entailed for me in what came up for me in the best of times and in the worst of times. I mean, I was there with my mum, my daughter, my 2 brothers, their partners and their children. I was pretty much staying in both houses, like both brothers' houses, both families' houses. And a lot of the time we were in one brother's house with like a newborn, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, my brother, his beautiful partner, my mum and myself. So it was crowded. And obviously when you're around family, things that you thought you'd worked on feels like you'd never worked on them a day in your life. So we're going to delve into that. So a lot of the things that I'm going to bring up today are about reflection, projection, suppression, anger, love, like the whole spectrum of kind of emotions, and where that kind of like hit me over there and where I feel like it can stem from. Also, I've put this back on my mic just because I feel like every time I listen back to my podcast, I'm getting a lot of kind of feedback from my hands moving around on it. And I also tend, because I'm holding it, like move it around away from my mouth. So I feel like I'm holding a mic stand, so it's going to stay in front of my mouth. Fingers crossed. We'll see. But okay. So just a bit of a backstory. I was born and raised in Darwin, Larrakia, Garramilla. And I grew up there until I was 12, until I moved here for high school. And growing up there, the land, the air like hits you different. It's sticky, it's moist, it's red. Like, it's like flying back in there. I can breathe properly for the first time in months. It's like my body recognizes that I'm from there, and I can finally go like, but at the same time, I'm always ready to leave. So I obviously go back and forth from there a lot. I was only there 5 months ago. Before that, probably 6 months. I tend to spend a lot of time there just because, you know, I'm getting older. I have a daughter. I have 2 brothers that are my best friends. Like, I speak to my brothers, one of them every single day, multiple times a day. And the other one I'm super close with, but it's like one of those best friendships you don't need to talk all the time. Although I would love to, but I know that he's super busy. But he's just had a baby, and it's the first nephew that I've ever had. And so going back this time felt a little bit different, because it was like my middle brother, although he has a young daughter that is his stepdaughter, having his first like blood child felt, it's different, right? It's different. You can't explain it. It's different. And my youngest brother has a 13-month-old baby and is just about to have another one in 8 weeks. So there was just like a lot of love and emotions. Like the first time I held my nephew, like, was so surreal. Like I just bawled my eyes out like a little boy. And like I remember holding my brother like that. And it's so, for me, like, it's like this generational cycle of falling in love with your family all over again, and then this new generation. And you know, this little boy is a Larrakia boy and Larrakia mob, and that this is his land and he's born on his land. And it's just like all of these emotions come up for me because I think it's just so beautiful. And yeah, like just to hold him in my arms was just a surreal thing. And I did the same for my niece. And, you know, to watch these two boys that I helped raise, like they're 5 and 7 years younger than me, and to watch them become these beautiful fathers that we didn't have, like, is just incredible to watch. And then to have my kid, like, an older generation to these younger ones, and hold space for them and just watch her in her maturity and like care and support, and just this beautiful, kind, patient young woman emerge from Loon, and her be able to hold space for the 5-year-old niece that I have, and just absolutely have this adoration for like all of the children, and you know, take them out to play and look after them, and just see this kind of like my daughter become like this, like level up in the world and become, yeah, this next level of human, I guess, was just so surreal in itself and so beautiful. Like the way that she interacts with all of the kids and my uncles, and in that kind of came these other interactions that we would have. And one thing with Loon and my brother, me and my brother have this very, like, we're super close, but obviously brothers and sisters are going to fight. They're going to bicker. They're going to banter. And we've had 26 years of that. And so the way that me and my youngest brother, Blake, kind of communicate is like we take the piss out of each other a lot. Like, I mean, most siblings do. And he also makes me so angry. Like, so angry. And so as a reflection of that, Loon's obviously seeing this, and he, since becoming a dad, has very much softened and become this very like doting father that wants, he's super, what's the word? He's a big scaredy cat. He wants to wrap his children in cotton wool. Bless his heart. Like, she's only one, so of course. But, you know, it comes with age, but it comes with parenting that, you know, he's just very like, kind of thing. And also, he's just a big softie. And so me and him obviously know each other, and we know how to push each other, and we bicker and fight all the time. And Loon kind of picked up on that and was like, well, I'm going to fight him. Like, and she'd be like, you piss me off. And he just wanted to kind of nurture her and hold her and build this kind of softer relationship with her that he didn't have. And so it was really upsetting him, and then it was upsetting me, because then he would then bite, or like not bite, but like react to her. And my daughter looks a lot older than she is. Like, she's only 10 and she looks about 13. And so it's very hard for us adults, and me included, who's her mother, to remember that she's only 10. And because of her maturity and the way that she holds herself and the way that she speaks, and she's so wise, but she's only 10. She's only been in this realm for 10 years. So that's something that, me and my family and everybody forgets. And so they can kind of treat her like an adult and forget that she only has the emotional capacity and maturity of a 10-year-old, no matter how she holds herself. And so she was getting affected, and then my brother was getting affected of how she was responding. And in turn, it was upsetting me. And I think that's where I kind of wanted to start this podcast with the reflection and projection and suppression, and reminding people that at the end of the day, communication is key. And something beautiful happened from, I guess, me having this recognition, and same with my sister-in-law Bella and Blake. We were like, okay, something needs to change. And so we all had to sit down and were like, okay, Loon, like Blake wants to have a conversation with you. And she got really, really worried and really, really anxious. And we kind of sat down outside, and I was just like, look, babe, like he just wants to tell you that he loves you and just wants to have like a more like softer relationship. And that, we obviously understand that mum and uncle like banter and fight, but we've known each other for a very long time, and we've had our ups and downs, and we kind of know the inner workings of each other, that we can kind of push those boundaries, and we know that nothing's going to change. But this is what he kind of just wants to talk to you about and be like, I want to build this relationship with my niece, and not just a second version of my sister. And so we ended up having this conversation, and it honestly just became so beautiful. Like, we all kind of had, like, me and Loon cried, we had a big chat, and then we all hugged it out. And from then on, their relationship just blossomed. And it's like reminding ourselves, even though we get triggered by these people, and then that can also have, rebound onto other people in our close arrangement, like my daughter and blah, 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 blah. If we continue to just do the same thing, we're going to have to expect the same outcome, and we're going to just continue getting triggered or hurt or upset or angry. And the fact that we sat down and kind of were like, this is how I'm feeling. Like, I just want to cuddle you. I just want to be able to build a relationship that's different to mine and hers and make our own one. And she was like, yeah, like, I guess, like, I just need to look at it differently and not just react to how my mum's reacting. And she then was able to see it from a different perspective. And then it just became a lot less futile and a lot less, every time we were all around each other. Another thing that kind of came up for me while I was there is something that kind of has been sitting with me for a while, and it has been kind of brought up, but it's funny, like, the people that raise you trigger you the most. And I find this when I go to my dad's house, I shut down. And, like, do you do that? Because it's like that you do it, but you don't stop it. And I guess that's suppression, right? Like, shutting down. And I have noticed it a lot. With my dad, it's different because, we don't talk that often. I don't see him that often. I'm just like, yeah, I'll put up with it when I need to. That's okay. Like, and I have a very big mouth. Obviously, I have a podcast. I'm talking to myself right now. But so I usually, if I say something to my dad, it ends up in an argument just because he doesn't have the emotional, like, response or maturity. Oh, I don't want to say that just in case he listens and he's like, meh. But self-reflection or communicative skill to, that still sounds like I'm being mean, but he's very reactive instead of reflective. So he will react to something that I'm saying if I'm just trying to have a conversation, instead of reflecting and then listening and responding. And then that puts me into my reactive, because I'm like, you're not listening to me. You're speaking at me and not really responding and having a conversation, if that makes sense. And so these are the triggers that happen in our family dynamics or our closest friendship dynamics. It's the people that, but it's usually the people that raised you that you'll have the most triggers by. And especially because these are the people that were like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And so you automatically listen to them because they're the people that raised you and taught you right from wrong. So you're like, okay, yep, I'll just shush. And what that then leads to in adulthood is the shutdown, the fawning, the flight or fight, like all of the above. And one thing for me that has recently come up is with my mum. And I moved her in with me 2 years ago, and me and my mum have had such a beautiful relationship growing up. Like, she's been my best friend. I tell her everything. I used to, like, we would have 5-hour, 6-hour phone calls. Oh, I got a phone call from my darling little niece. I miss her so much. What I was talking about is something that has been coming up for me a lot with my mum, is that even though I can tell her anything under the sun, we've had such a beautiful relationship that when you get into, I'm nearly in my mid-30s, having your parent move in with you, and, I'm paying majority of the rent. I, bought her a car to move here, and that's fine. And I'm not using that against her at all, because that's what I wanted to do. But what I didn't realize was that all of these triggers and all of these things came up for me. And this isn't just to do with Darwin. This is, I guess coming home in any sense is going, and being around family is going to trigger this. But being around my brothers also enhanced it, I guess. And so one thing I think as well, even if you have a good relationship with your parent or your siblings, is that, and you can talk about anything under the sun usually, is that when you are triggered, how much you shut down and don't bring up controversial or things that you need to in a way that is not reactive. Like, it's like you get pushed to this point of, you can get pushed to this point of then reacting and being like, oh, like blah, blah, blah. And you just explode. But at the end of the day, we don't really want to get to that point, do we? And I think this is where I'm having all of this reflection, and reflection is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I think everyone needs more self-reflection, because we're not all perfect. We're not all healed. We're never going to be at the point where, and some people do, but that takes a lot of fucking work. And as I say all the time, if a mirror or a glass is smashed on the ground, you can pick up the big bits and you can pick them up, but there's always going to be the tiny little bits that could get stuck in your foot or make you bleed. And that is healing. And so with these emotional triggers and with this family triggers, like, self-reflection is key, and communication, just being able to hold these conversations. And I am not perfect. Like, I'm being vulnerable with you right now. I haven't had these big conversations with my mum. And I don't know if she'll listen to this, and I'm hoping that maybe I will be able to have these conversations with her. But also, you never want to hurt the people that you love, right? But then you're also hurting them and yourself and your relationship by not saying anything. And I love this podcast for me, because a lot of the time I'll start talking, and I know this sounds really woo-woo, but I feel like I get downloads and shit just comes out of my mouth that I didn't even realize, or self-reflection, right? And I figure out ways that I can be better and do better. And yeah, I guess like having these conversations with my mum is going to help, and it's also going to cause less hurt for myself internally and her, because I know she can feel it. But yeah, a lot of it was also triggered in Darwin, I think, like seeing her around my brothers and the different relationships she has with them, and obviously being on holidays, people act differently because we're more relaxed and all of these things. And I feel like it's just gotten me to a point where I'm like, okay, if I just have that conversation like I did with Luna, my brother, and I saw it in real time, how the effects of that became such a beautiful thing, and we grew and we got better. So I know that that's something that I have to have with my mum and also my dad. I think it's getting to that point where I'm at this emotional and physical maturity that I want to live out of love and not out of fear and not out of resentment and not out of anger, because we all know there's scientifically proven that, you know, those yucky feelings, if not processed and released healthily, then it can then turn up as health issues. So I think, you know, everyone is on, and I love this, right? Everyone's on this health and spiritual and mental health journey at the moment, I feel like, and maybe I'm just in a echo chamber in my world, but everyone's really wanting to do better for themselves and be healthier and XYZ. And I think a lot of that included needs to be your mental health. And I know that, you know, going to therapy, and someone's cooking something that smells really good. Oh, steak. And that's self-reflection and the relationships that we surround ourselves with. And especially if you went through your childhood with trauma and all of that kind of stuff, I feel like our responses to people can be that flight, fight, fawn, freeze. And it's checking ourselves in those moments and being like, how can I communicate with this person without wanting to, you know, people please and skate around the issues and then end up avoiding them because you don't know how to communicate with them at all anymore because you are too scared of reacting, and actually just like bringing it back to love and saying, hey, I feel really nervous, or I can tell that I feel really nervous about this conversation. Acknowledging how you feel so then they know how you feel, and just being like, I love you and this is the reason I'm doing it, and I'm triggered because of this. I am triggered, blah, 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 blah. And then allowing them to respond and have an adult conversation. And also you can have this with children. Like having it with Loon, you don't understand how much children can actually process and absorb and understand. Like we don't give them enough props for like what they can take in. So kind of recapping, I kind of went all over the place and I am apologetic about that, but I kind of forgot to tell you what is reflection and projection. So I'm just going to quickly go over it. Like reflection, let's start off with projection. So when you project something onto someone, now I know many of you will be like, I know what this is, but this is for the people that don't, okay? And maybe it'll be the start of something beautiful in their minds. When you project something or someone else is projecting onto you, it is like, say I'm having the worst day ever. And I get in the car and someone's driving slow in front of me and I'm like, blah, 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 move out of the way, blah, blah, have a go at them, stick my finger out the window, whatever. That is me projecting my shit onto that person. Say your boss screams at you for not putting $2 in the little baggies if you work in retail properly. True story. I don't think that's an actual reflection of me. I don't think that's such a big deal that I deserve to be screamed at. But it's acknowledging and being like, okay, maybe she's projecting. And that comes down to insecurities. Like, you know, when you see people getting hate messages, they usually hurt people. And then what you can do if someone's like, I think, or like if you get told you're projecting, instead of reacting, it's reflecting and going, okay, maybe, yeah, like, oh, like if someone goes, did you have a bad day? And you go, yeah. And a beautiful example of this is Loon. We've had a massive argument over like putting clothes away or something like that. And she screamed at me, black and blue. And she came up to me one time and was like, Mum, I'm sorry. I'm really tired after school and I took it out on you. That is a beautiful moment of realizing, self-reflecting that she was projecting her shit onto me. That is reflection and projection. And what do you do if someone's projecting onto you and you don't go, hey, what's going on? Talk to me. What's going on in your world? Like, this isn't normal. This isn't you. If you don't have that conversation and go, hey, something's up, what do? You push it down. And that's called suppression. And what happens when you suppress, your body and your nervous system shuts down. It goes into flight or fight. It becomes regression, right? Which can be aggression. It can be fight or flight. It can be fawn. It can be freeze. It can be people pleasing. It comes out in these unhealthy mechanisms instead of just communicating and being like, hey, I feel a little bit off about this. Like, can we chat about this? Like, something that you did kind of made me feel a certain way, or like, you know, something happened and I felt triggered from what happened. I think it's very important not to be like, you made me feel like that, because we're all in control of our own emotions and we choose to feel these things. Yes, someone can do something and then we can then have an emotional response. But how then we deal with that emotional response and communicate better with another human being is completely up to us. And so, you know, I'll use another example. My mum was getting kicked in the back of the chair on the flight. Yes, I understand that's annoying. She was like, that kid over there was kicking me in the kidneys. And I was like, did you say anything? Did you turn around and go, hey, I'm really sorry, but if you could maybe just like ease up, like I'm just getting a bit kicked in the back. Like, I know it's not your fault. Like, these chairs are very close together, but it's just hurting a little bit. If you could just maybe just take it easy and just try not to. No, I didn't do that. If you don't try and do something about it, how are they supposed to stop? How are they supposed to know? You getting angry about something and not saying anything is only hurting yourself. So I wanted to add a somatic tool for these moments when we get frustrated, triggered, just in these spaces, and just coming back to ourselves. So I wanted to start with a journal prompt first and then a somatic exercise. So the journal prompt is, what parts of me feel safe to express around my family and what parts do I still hide? Then ask, am I protecting myself or performing safety? By performing safety, it's, you know, going back to your inner child, and are you doing that out of fear? Are you doing that to people please? X, Y, Z. So again, what parts of me feel safe to express around my family? And what parts do I still hide? Am I protecting myself or am I performing safety? I really want you to do this for yourself, and you don't have to. Even just have that conversation. If you're driving right now, ask that. have a conversation with yourself. Think about it. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to do a journal prompt can be internal journal. Oh, that sounds nice. All right. So this somatic tool is the anchor and the mirror, and you can do this anywhere. You don't need a mirror. You can imagine it in your mind's eye. Whatever. So I just want you to start with your breath, and this tool is called box breathing. So I just want you can put your hand on your belly, you can put your hand on your heart, and firstly just feel your heartbeat or your breath in your belly. And then I want you to take a breath in for 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then at the top, I want you to hold it for 4 counts. And then when you breathe out, I want you to breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts. And then when you've blown out for 4 counts, hold it there for 4 counts. Continuously do this for 3 rounds. And then repeat to yourself, I am here. I am safe in my body. I trust my truth. Then I want you to imagine a mirror in front of you and repeat to yourself in the mirror with your eyes closed or in the mirror face to face. What I see in them is not always about me. Another thing that I would like you to do at the end is just literally get up and shake your body. Like shake. Like, as much as you can for like 30 seconds. And the energy release from that is just amazing. And just remember, like, communication is key. Like, how am I supposed to know that I'm doing anything wrong if no one tells me? How am I supposed to want to be a better person and change my habits and what I'm doing and how I affect people if I don't know how I'm affecting people? And of course, I'm going to have these self-reflection moments and I'm going to have these internal dialogues, and I work on myself all the time to try and be the best person. But if I've upset someone, I would love to know, because I am a kind person and I always want the best for other people and myself. And if I can do better, I want to do better. And I think that's the moral of the story. I guess this trip reminded me that healing is not linear, and it's not about fixing, it's about growth, and it's about reflection and working on the parts that we can see that are in the shadows. And that sometimes the places and the people that raised us hold the key to that. I want to say thank you for my family, for being my best friends, and that unconditional love that only they can have. Like, honestly, the last 2 weeks have been so incredible and wholesome, and my heart aches for the people and the places that Darwin is. The food, the sunsets, the red dirt, the rock pools, the waterfalls, the crocodiles, the fishing, the sticky air. But the place isn't home. The people are. I'm just endlessly grateful for the people in my life. And of course, Larrakia land. Like, oof, that place is beautiful. If you've never been to Darwin, it is one hell of a fucking ride. Like, let me get a tissue. An ode to my brothers, my sisters-in-law, my babies, all of them, even the unborn one. I'm going to see you so soon. Thank you for holding me again and again and again and again. I am such an emotional girl. I'm sorry that I told you, zero filter. There is nothing I hide behind. This is me. This is raw. This is real. This is Faye. And I wouldn't be Faye without these people. So, if this episode touched something within you, have some self-reflection, because it definitely touched something within me. And I know I'm so proud of myself that it got to the end for me to be like this, because I was so worried. I was like, all right, I want to do a reflection and projection and Larrakia podcast and kind of like recap of the last 2 weeks plus things that have come up for me, right? And I was like, fuck, I'm going to be crying the whole time. And the fact that I'm only now bawling my eyes out is fucking sick. I'm very proud of myself. But yes, thank you so much, everybody, for continuously supporting me, listening, and loving me. And I hope that this episode, really kind of gets in your little niggly bits and you kind of sit back and do some self-work. I promise it won't always be me crying, but it's going to happen often. I don't know. Who knows? I don't even know what next episode's going to be, but I hope I see you there. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye. I don't know. Who knows? I don't even know what next episode's going to be, but I hope I see you there. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.